Everybody loves you. That is the trap. You were taught that the more available you are, the more valuable you become. That showing up, responding fast, being present, that these are the qualities of a good person, a reliable friend, a trusted partner. That your accessibility is proof of your worth. That is the lie they fed you, and it is eating you alive. The moment you become predictable, you become invisible, not to your enemies. They are still watching. To the people you love, to the people you work beside, to the ones you call your inner circle. Availability is the fastest road to being treated like furniture, and furniture does not get respected. It gets used, ignored, and eventually replaced. What I am about to show you is a 30-day experiment, not a detox, not a social media break, a surgical dismantling of every relationship in your life, down to the wire, the bone, the true architecture beneath the performance. There are 5 phases. The 5th one will explain everything you have been confused about for years. If you're not ready for that kind of clarity, close this now. Go back to the crowd. But if you want the truth, the cold, irreversible, Machiavellian truth, stay. You were brainwashed to believe that silence is passive-aggressive, that withdrawal is weakness, that going quiet means you are broken, sulking, hiding. Schools trained you to raise your hand. Religion told you isolation is sin. Social media monetized your anxiety by convincing you that visibility equals relevance, that if you go dark for even 2 days, the world will forget you exist. So you kept talking, kept posting, kept performing, kept feeding the machine that owns you. Machiavelli understood what modern society has spent 5 centuries trying to bury. In The Prince, he wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Not because cruelty is power, but because fear lives inside uncertainty, and you have handed everyone around you total certainty. Certainty of your presence, certainty of your response, certainty that you will be there, available, generous with your attention. You have made yourself completely predictable, and predictable things get managed. They do not get respected. Robert Greene formalized this in the 48 Laws of Power as Law 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor. The more you are seen, the more common you appear. The more common you appear, the less power you hold. This is not philosophy. This is physics. Dr. James Pennebaker at the University of Texas confirmed that humans are neurologically wired to broadcast. Self-disclosure activates the same neural reward pathways as food and sex. This is not a character flaw. It is biology. But biology left unchecked makes you a predictable, manageable, extractable resource. For 30 days, you go dark. No updates, no stories, no check-ins, no just letting you know messages. You do not announce the disappearance. You simply stop. Julius Caesar understood the power of calculated absence. Before crossing the Rubicon, he paused and let Rome sit in uncertainty for weeks. The silence did more damage to his opponents' minds than any speech. When he finally moved, the psychological war was already over. Your instruction? Delete the apps. Not mute them, delete them. Every time you feel the pull to announce something, write it in a private document no one will ever read. Train the signal to stay internal. And when you go silent, something will happen that disturbs you. Keep watching, because what comes next will cut deeper than you expect. Silence is not passive. Silence is a weapon that reads people for you. When you disappear, two things happen simultaneously. First, the people who are genuinely invested in you will reach out, not with a hollow check-in after 2 weeks, but within days. They will initiate. They will persist. They will feel your absence like a physical subtraction. Second, and this is the part that cuts, the rest will not notice at all. The ones you texted every day, the ones whose posts you liked religiously, the ones you called your people. Silence. Because what they valued was never you. It was your function, your accessibility, your emotional availability on demand. Remove the function and the truth surfaces immediately. You were not a person to them. You were a habit. Psychologists call this asymmetric relational investment, rooted in John Bowlby's attachment theory. One party becomes the provider, the other becomes the consumer. You assumed the ledger was balanced. The silence will show you the actual numbers. Napoleon Bonaparte understood this through his own ruin. After Waterloo, exile stripped him of function. Emperor, military axis, the center of European power. Within months, men who swore blood oaths sent no letters. Only those who had genuinely feared him as a human being, not as a symbol, remained. He wrote from St. Helena, "I have no friends, only flatterers." He understood too late what 30 days of deliberate silence would have shown him decades earlier. Your instruction: make a list of everyone you consider close. For 30 days, initiate contact with no one. Only respond if they reach out first. At the end, look at that list. The ones who reached out are real. The rest, you now know what you are to them. What you discover about those relationships is going to hurt. But what you discover about yourself is the reason you keep watching. The silence is not the destination. It is the excavation. Most people who attempt strategic withdrawal use it as manipulation. They go quiet to be chaste, to punish, to extract emotional reactions from others. This is the behavior of someone still enslaved to external validation. They wear darkness as a costume. That is not power. That is the need for approval holding a knife. The sovereign does not disappear to be found. He disappears to rebuild. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying optimal human experience and found that the deepest states of meaning, what he called flow states, are not social. They are solitary. They emerge from uninterrupted engagement with difficult, focused work. The mind, separated from the noise, becomes extraordinarily capable. It starts building instead of performing. Robert Greene documents this in the 33 Strategies of War as the command and control principle. You cannot lead a campaign while taking orders from the crowd. You must remove yourself from the noise to read the map clearly. Cosimo de' Medici, the architect of Florentine power, regularly withdrew from public court life and political spectacle. While others performed, he observed. While others competed for visibility, he calculated. He became the most powerful man in Florence, not by dominating rooms, but by becoming impossible to read. His strategic silence was perception management at its highest level. Your instruction: during these 30 days, build one thing that requires complete focus, a skill, a project, a physical discipline. Not for anyone else, not to announce afterward. Work on it every day. Let it be the only thing that receives your full signal. You are still here. Good. The fragile ones already left. Comment below. I build in silence. How you return is more strategically important than that you left. The average man cannot contain himself after 30 days of silence. He comes back louder than he left. He announces the transformation. He documents the journey. He turns the solitude into content, into a story for others to consume. In doing so, he vaporizes everything the silence built. The mystery dissolves. The power evaporates. He is, once again, performing for an audience that owns him. Do you see what he did? He broke the spell the moment it started working. The sovereign returns as if nothing happened. No announcement, no explanation, no declaration of transformation. He appears, sharper, quieter, harder to read. And the people around him feel the shift before they can name it. This is Robert Cialdini's scarcity heuristic at work, the psychological principle that value is perceived in direct proportion to perceived availability. What is rare is desired. What is omnipresent is ignored. Your return is your first move in the new game. Do not spend it on confession. The Spartans understood this with precision. When warriors returned from campaigns, there was no celebration of personal narrative, no interview, no story. The warrior re-entered the community, and the silence around his experience communicated more authority than any words could. What he had done lived in his discipline, not in his speech. Your instruction. When you return, let others come to you first. When they ask where you were, give them 2 sentences, maximum. Then redirect. Ask questions. Listen without filling silence. Let them speak while you observe. You will learn more in 10 minutes of listening than you did in 10 years of performing. But this re-entry will cost you something permanent. The final phase is the price. You will lose people. Accept it before you begin. Some will be offended by the silence and stop reaching out entirely. They will interpret your withdrawal as rejection and write you off. They will say you changed. They will say you think you are better than them. That is their audit of themselves, not yours. Let them have it. But some losses will be different. You will realize that people you genuinely loved were only present because you were actively supplying the relationship. That some of your closest connections were built entirely on your effort. That the moment you stopped, the relationship ceased to exist. Not because they are evil, but because the relationship was never real. It was a transaction where you provided everything and called it intimacy. That clarity is brutal. There is no other word for it. Machiavelli wrote The Prince not from a throne, but from exile. He had been arrested, tortured on the strappato, his shoulders pulled from the socket, stripped of every political position he had spent a decade constructing. He wrote in a farmhouse outside Florence, penniless and politically destroyed, and he produced the most penetrating analysis of power in human history. Because exile removed the performance and left only the signal. Because loss forced him to build something that could not be taken away. What is the difference between a man destroyed by exile and a man made by it? The man destroyed by it is still waiting to be reinstated. The man made by it stopped waiting. This path is cold. Do not pretend otherwise. You will sit in rooms alone and feel something that looks like longing. You will watch others perform their lives in public, the announcements, the celebrations, the constant visible belonging. And part of you will remember what that warmth felt like. The wolf on the edge of the forest, watching the sheep in the light of the fire. You will remember the fire. Part of you will want to go back. Do not go back. The sheep are warm because they surrendered something. Their edges, their silence, their capacity to become dangerous and unpredictable and impossible to manage. That warmth is the warmth of the administered, and you were not built to be administered. Machiavelli sat in that farmhouse with his shoulders still aching from the rope, and he did not beg to be let back in. He wrote, he thought. He built something permanent out of the ruins of everything temporary. He understood in his body and not just his mind that exile was not punishment. It was initiation. That the loss of what was comfortable was the price of access to what was real. This freedom you are choosing is cold. There will be nights it does not feel like freedom at all, when it feels like punishment, like isolation, like the wrong choice. Those nights are not signs you failed. They are proof you are in the process. This freedom belongs entirely to you. No one can revoke what no one gave you. You made it to the end. Most did not. That is not flattery. That is a data point. You sat in the discomfort. You let the ideas land without scrolling away to find something easier. That is not common behavior. That is not the behavior of the 99% who clicked and left in the first 2 minutes looking for someone to validate what they already believed. Subscribe not because I asked you to. Subscribe because you are done being furniture, because you are done measuring your value by who responds to your messages. Because you understand that the most powerful version of you has not been released yet, and it will not emerge inside the crowd. What cannot be said in a public video, the deeper frameworks, the strategic architecture, the systems the algorithm does not want widely distributed, that lives behind the membership. Consider it the room that only opens from the inside. The 30 days start when you decide they start, not after the next distraction, not tomorrow. The decision is either made now or it is not made at all.